Hi, this is Julie with Beadaholique, and in this video, I'm going to teach you how to make the beaded centerline cuff bracelet and ring set, which is an exclusive kit by Beadaholique, and actually comes in a couple different colorways and different patterns. But if you look at this example here, which is the one we're going to do in the video, you see it's a really nice finished cuff, and on the inside is almost like a little piece of loom work. And also the same thing with the ring as well. So this is called the Santa Cruz color combo and pattern. So that's going to be that one. This is another one, which is wonderful warm tones, and this is the Sonora, and you see it's done on a silver bracelet instead of the gold. You'll also notice it has corresponding thread. Here is Botanical Cove, which is wonderful shades of purple and violet and white, almost like an ombre effect. And then the final one here is Monterey, and this is a magenta, blue, and a very pale mint. So just a really different look on that one too, and you see that that mint just pops with the contrasting of the colors. So when you purchase an exclusive kit from Beadaholique, you get everything you need to make that particular project. So in this case, this here is what you're going to get when you order a kit. You're going to get the actual ring. And I'm going to just put this on. This is adjustable. You can squeeze it to fit whatever ring size you like. You're going to also get the bracelet, and you'll notice these wonderful little holes along the outside. This is going to be our anchoring point. You're going to get a big eye needle. You're going to get some E6000 glue. You're going to get all the beads you need. You're actually going to get more than enough beads to do this project. We're providing quite a bit of extra beads here. And then you're going to be getting your thread as well. So all you're going to need to provide are a pair of scissors, some little toothpicks or scrap pieces of wire to apply your glue at the end, and a Post-it note to put your glue on. You're also going to be receiving the pattern, and in this case for the Santa Cruz one, I cut it out of the sheet that it comes on. I liked having a little smaller sheet to work with, so that makes it a little easier for me when I'm doing my beadwork. And then you're also going to get detailed instructions as well. And of course, you'll have this video. So I want to get started right away on this because it's really fun to do. I found that when I was making these samples, I just enjoyed it more and more. So when you first look at your cuff bracelet, which is what we're going to be starting with, this is going to be the first one we bead, you'll notice that there are 23 holes on each side, which means your pattern is going to be 23 beads long, and you're going to be able to make a pattern that's 7 beads tall. And we are using Miyuki Delica size 11-0, which is what these are really made for. Now, if you do look at the rows of beads, you'll notice that they're all evenly spaced, with the exception of one spot on here. And so you look down here, and there's a little bit of a wider gap between these two holes. And sometimes these two holes will be up here with a little wider gap. Sometimes they'll be down here. Like if we look at the ring, the wider gap is on the opposite side. It's up top left, and this one is bottom left. So I'm going to show you both ways. So regardless of which hole placement you get in your kit, I'll show you how to do it. It's very similar. It's the same technique. It's just a slight variation. And the way you start this is you find that gap and you go diagonal across, and this is your starting point. And because I am right-handed, I like to work from left to right, so I flip mine around. So that gap is up top, and I am going to start right down here. And this just makes it so that your beads line up straight and are not at a slant. And if you ever get a bracelet where that gap is not really identifiable, don't worry about it. If your little holes are placed a little closer together, just start on one corner and it's going to be fine. So we are going to begin by cutting our thread, and we're going to be using Nymo. That's what's going to come with your kit, and your Nymo color of thread will coordinate to your beads. And you're going to want to cut 2 lengths that are 45 inches long each. So we're essentially doubling our thread to make it a little bit thicker to help stabilize the beads in the bracelet. So I've already pre-cut my thread, and you're going to line up your ends, and then you're going to place them into a big eye needle. If you haven't worked with big eye needles before, they're really wonderful. They're so easy to work with, and they're great when you have a situation where you have like multiple threads going through that eye or a little bit thicker thread. So a really great little handy tool. And you do get one with your kit. So pull it so that you have one tail that's about 6 inches or so on one side, and then your other length is just hanging off the other side. Do not tie a knot to begin with. We're going to go back at the very end and tie a knot. So let's look at this bracelet again. You remember you have already identified where that gap is if your bracelet does have an identifiable gap. And you're going to want to go diagonal across to it. And since I am right-handed, I'm going to be working left to right. If you are left-handed, just reverse that. The technique won't change. So this is our starting hole down here. And we're just going to go from the back forward. And so we're going to pull it so that we have enough tail hanging out that we're going to be able to restring our needle onto it at the very end. So that's what you need. So whatever you're comfortable with. I think this is probably around 10 inches or so. And you're going to get a pattern that comes with your kit. And since this is a Santa Cruz one, you see right here is where we're going to start. So I'm going to pick up a blue bead, a turquoise, actually 2 turquoises, a blue, 2 more turquoises, and another blue. And this is why this reminds me of loom work, because you put them all on at once for each row. All right, so now we're gonna just slide them down. And be a little bit careful that your thread doesn't knot. So you just wanna be a little bit careful in the beginning, just because you have a lot of thread you're working with. So now that we've got those slid down, we're gonna take our needle, go through the center, because you always want to go from back to front. So now we're going to come from the back on that top hole and pull. And then you're going to use your fingers to stabilize it a little bit. And now we're going to go back through our beads. Okay, and now we're going to go put the needle through that center again. And in this case, because it's our starting row, we're going to go back from the back to the front again through the same hole that we started with. And pull. And now that we're out front, we're going to go up through those beads one more time. Make sure that this row is really nice and secure and straight. And just pull. And pull nice and snug. Pull tight. You want those to really be set in there. And that too is why you're doubling up your thread. All right, so we are on the front side again. So we're going to take our needle, go through the back side. And now we're ready to go over to the next row. So you're going to go one hole over. Put your needle through. But I want to make sure that my thread is out of the way. I don't want to go in the middle of my 2 threads. So let me just pull that out of the way a little bit. Okay, so we're on the back side, coming to the front. And now we're ready to pick up our next row of beads. So if we look here, here's row 2. So we're going to need 2 of this pretty kind of turquoisey color, 1 of the blue, 1 of the white. I know it can be really hard to see the white here on this white tablecloth. Another blue, and 2 more of this turquoise. Okay, so those are all on our needle. We're going to slide them down. Okay, and now again we want to go back to front, so that needle goes through the center. And then going that one hole over because you're now on your second row, so you want to go on the second hole. Pull. Now you want to go back through them. And pull nice and tight. And now through the center again, and now you're ready for your third row. Whoops. There you go. And because it's just one of the interior rows, you don't need to go for that third pass through. So you're just ready to go over to row 3. Okay, and look at your pattern. So row 3 is going to start with a blue, 2 turquoises, and then another blue, 2 more turquoises, and another blue. Pull all those beads down, and then go from the center to the back, and then that third hole over on the bottom row, and pull. And you can already see our pattern is starting to form. So we're going to go back up through the beads and pull. Again, same thing. We're just going from back to front. And it does get a little bit easier even as you progress because you're reducing the amount of thread you have hanging out here. Because it's just in the beginning you have so much thread. Okay, so we're on that 4th hole over, which is going to correspond to the 4th row. So on this one, it's going to start with a white, and then it's going to be a blue, 3 turquoises, then another blue, and another white. And you can see how few beads we are really using here. So you're going to have a ton left over if you wanted to do another project with them. Okay, pull those down. Go through that center again. It's so handy that it has that nice big opening. And then from the back, hole number 4, and up. Okay, and through your beads again. There you go. So let's compare for what we've got here. So this is our pattern. It is quite large and cut out, but this is following the pattern. And you're just going to keep doing this all the way until you get to the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this off camera until I end up with just a couple rows left. I think that's going to be a little bit easier to understand this video because in this video I also want to show beading of the ring because that little gap is on the opposite side and I want to show you how that would just change ever so slightly your starting. So I'm going to keep on beading, and when I come back you'll see that most of this pattern will be done. And just remember, always go from the back to the front. So you see I've done quite a bit of beadwork here, and you really see that pattern developing, and I've just got 3 rows left. I do want you to note the orientation of the thread, so when you're looking at your piece you can see it probably is going to look very similar. Down here the threads are straight up and down, and over here they're at a little bit of an angle. That is totally correct. That's the way it's supposed to be. If for some reason yours are both straight, great. All that really matters is that you want your beads to be straight. So if your beads are going at an angle, you'll want to rewind this video and check maybe where you went just a little bit off track. But as long as the beads are straight, everything is good. So let's go ahead and finish these 3 rows, and then I can show you how to tie it off and to trim your threads as well. And then we're going to move on to the ring. So we've got a blue, 2 turquoises, another blue, 2 more turquoises, and another blue. Okay, we're just doing the same pattern as always. So go through the middle. You notice that middle section's getting narrower. Up through from the back. And up through your beads. Make sure you definitely go through all the beads in a row, just like as if you were doing loom work. You want to make sure you go through every bead. Okay, now we are getting tiny and squeaky for this little gap. Another row. And what I do is with this particular pattern, this is the center point, and this side here is a mirror image of this side here. So you can keep looking at your pattern, absolutely. Or you can just look at what you've already done on this side and copy that. So that's a little trick I like to use, and it's a little faster for me just to refer to the beadwork I've already done. All right. So here's the row we're copying because this is second to last one. Okay. All right, last row. Again, go through that little bit of that center that's left exposed. Go up through that hole. And now the last row is going to be a blue, 2 turquoises, a blue, 2 more turquoises, and another blue. And of course, you'll be following the pattern that matches your kit and using those colors, of course, too. You'll have enough beads provided in the kit to be able to kind of mix and match. So if you buy multiple kits, you could always swap out which color you want to do with which pattern because you'll have enough beads. All right, so there is that last row. And now you'll notice that my tails here, let me first go up through here just to anchor the beads to start. Okay, my tails that I started with are getting to be almost the same length of my working thread. So I want to go ahead and scoot that around a little bit so my tails are shorter. So you notice that your thread will probably start to fray a little just because you've been using it so much. But there, I'm just going to scoot it like so. So my tails are a little bit shorter. All right, I'm going to go up through those beads and pull. Now I'm going to go back to the back side, pull, and I'm actually going to go through these one more time. So it's that final pass through, which is like what we started with when we began this project. And these are really very durable. You're really anchoring these beads on, which is nice. Okay, so go through all the beads. And the beadwork itself is now done, and you can see how the thread choice actually becomes a design element. We're going to take our needle and bring it to the back again. And this is where we're going to tie it off. So if you look on the back side, you see it's all nice and neat as well. And there are these very convenient, handy little thread paths, these little thread bridges. So we're just going to take our needle and go under the one over that's next to it and pull and make a little loop. Now we're going to take our needle, go through that loop and pull. And that just creates a little knot. Now, if you want, you can do a double knot, but I don't want it to be too scratchy on my hand, especially when I do the ring. So I found that just one knot is fine. We're also going to add glue to it. Now I'm going to run my thread down the row of beads next to it and pull. And that just tucks that knot right up against those beads. If we look at the front, you don't see it at all. So now we're going to take this thread off and in just a minute we're going to add a little bit of glue. So I'm just going to not trim it all the way right now. I'm just going to trim it a little bit shorter. And now we're going to go over to the other side. And remember, you left about 10 inches to start. You did that so that now you can come back and rethread your threads onto your big eye needle. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. So we're just going to go to the thread bridge that's next to it. So one over. Just catch under it with your needle. Make that loop. And go through it. And you notice I'm going through the loop of both the NYMO threads. So since we have our thread doubled, pull it. And run your needle through your beads that are one row over. Where's my needle going to come out? Is it going to come out in the front or the back? hitting this piece of metal right here. So you're just having to be kind of gentle with it and figure out where we can get it to come out. There we go, came out the back side. If it comes out the front, don't worry about it, just pull it all the way through and then just pull your thread to the back. Just push your needle through to the back side again. All right, so that is now done. And now we're going to add a little bit of glue because I want to have this as a finished piece before I go on to the ring. All right, so you get with your kit some E6000 glue. It's going to come sealed. There's a little point on the tip that you can puncture the seal with, so just turn it upside down, push, and there is your glue. And you sure don't need a lot. Put your cap back on. And then you're just going to put that glue on top of that knot, just smearing it in. You can do that on both sides. Okay. And then what you can do is you can just trim your threads. So just go in there up close, trim. And same with on this side, trim. And you have a finished bracelet. I'll put this on my wrist here at the end of the video so you can see what it looks like worn, but since I just applied that glue, I'm gonna let it dry for a few minutes. Okay, so the bracelet is all done, and now I wanna show you the ring. You're gonna notice that the size is obviously smaller for the little inset. It's 11 beads wide by 3 beads tall, and you're actually going to get that pattern as well. It is just simple stripes, but you can also vary that any which way you like. I think a chevron would look quite nice too. So when we're looking at this, we need to find our start point again. So we're going to look for that gap, and it is right here. So if we look at it, it's actually on the bottom. If I orient it so I want the gap on my right, it's on the bottom right corner, which if I go diagonal across means I'm going to start on the top left, which is actually opposite of the bracelet. So before it was on the top right and we started at the bottom left, and now it's on the bottom of the right hand side and we're going to start on the top left. Your actual technique is not going to change, but I'm really glad that I can show you both ways just so that you don't get confused when you get your kit. So for this, we're going to want to do a shorter length of thread as well. I've pre-cut 30 inches. 30 inches is plenty. It's just a matter of, I like starting with a little bit of extra because I'm still going to need to leave that tail and all. So we're going to use our big eye needle again. And we're going to open it up. Good. There we go. Take both ends together and put it through the big eye needle, and we want that tail of 6 inches or so. Now we're going to smooth out our thread and we're going to begin our beadwork. So starting top left, going from back to front, we do need to leave a tail of about 10 inches again to be able to thread our needle on at the end and tie our knot. There we go, we've got our 10 inches. Doesn't have to be exact. And we're going to pick up our beads. Now, following the pattern, we're going to do a white bead, a dark blue in the middle, and then we're going to do the turquoise. And I like to do the dark blue in the middle just because it provides the most contrast, but you can do whatever you like, of course. So we're going to pick up 1 bead, 2 beads, 3 beads. You could also do color blocking. That would be really pretty too. Okay. Slide those guys down, go through the center, and then from the back to the front, and then up through your beads again. Okay, pull your thread to the back by going through that center. And then you can probably notice I'm trying to hold this longer tail out of the way just so it doesn't get tangled. And then we're going to go through this same row one more time just because it is that beginning row. And the ring, excuse me, works up pretty fast just because it's so few beads. Okay, going from the back, or I'm sorry, going from the front to the back, and we're going to move over So we can start our second row, and with this stripe pattern to create it, every row is going to be identical, so it's really easy to do. And since this is row 2, we only need to go 2 passes. So 1 up, 1 down, and then we'll move on to the next row. So you don't have to do that third pass. Okay, and move over to the third hole over for row 3. And same technique as the bracelet. Now, I wore this ring home one day accidentally. I forgot I had it on. I'll say it was very, very comfortable. I'm going to put it on here at the end so you can see what it would look like worn. But it was a surprise to me that I forgot that I had it on. Just finishing my second to last row. Now we're ready for the last row. Oh, here we go. You see that we've created those stripes and we just have that little gap left. And now we're going to add our last 3 beads to complete our bracelet and ring set. Okay. So since this is the last row, we're going to go through it like normal, but then we're going to do that one last pass through. So here we've gone up. Now we're going to come from the back. We're going to go down. Going to pull our little needle to the back side. Go through that hole again. And do one more pass up through. And then bring your needle to the back again. Pull tight. All right, now on the back side, we need to tie a knot. So we're going to go ahead and go under that thread bridge of the next row over. And just kind of wiggle our needle, go under it. Creates a little loop. Actually, I've got my tails here. There we go. I pulled it out. Okay, little knot. And now we're going to run our thread down through the next row of beads over, just to pull that knot closer to the beads and tuck it in a little bit because this is going to go on your finger. You know what? I feel secure with that knot. I'm going to put glue on it in a minute, but I'm just going to trim this tail. This is such a narrow little space to work in. I want to get rid of any excess thread I can. All right, back to our starting thread, and you left that nice length there to start with. Okay, place it through your big eye needle. And now, same thing on this side. We're just going to go one little thread bridge over. Create that nice little loop. Make sure you're going through both strands of the NYMO. Pull. And go through. There we go. Go down through that bead row. Pull it. And then trim it. We're going to add our glue. And a little bit of glue is all you need. Okay, so that is now done as well. So here is your complete set. You've got the cuff bracelet and you've got the little ring. And I'm going to show you what the bracelet looks like on. So you can stretch it out a little bit to make it wider. And then you can squeeze it around your wrist. So that's what that one looks like. Now I'm going to try on the dry ring. And I like to wear it here on this finger. So there we go. We have the complete set. And again, this is an exclusive kit by Beadaholique. They're called the Beaded Centerline Bracelet and Ring Set. And you can pick whichever colorway you like and whichever pattern you like. So if you buy more than one set, definitely feel free to do a mix and match with the colors for sure. It's really fun to do. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and check out beadaholique.com as well as our YouTube channel for a lot of other kits and videos.